Shalom. Our Torah portion for this week is Yayikra, which is the first Sedra of the book that we also call Yayikra, known in English as Leviticus. Now, there's something rather interesting happening from a scribal point of view. What I mean by that, by the way that the Hebrew is actually written. I'm going to read it in Hebrew. You can read along with me if you like. And I want you to notice in the first word, Yayikra, that the aleph is smaller than the other letters. So I'm going to go ahead and read the first few lines for you. Yayikra el Moshe, Vaydaber Adonai elav, me ohel moed, lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael, v'amarta alehem. Adam ki yakriv mikem korban ladonai, min habehema, min habakar, umin hatson, takrivu et korbanchem. The Eternal One called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, Speak to the Israelite people, and say to them, When any of you presents an offering of cattle to the Eternal, you shall choose your offering from the herd or from the flock. Now, a question that people have been asking for literally centuries is, why is that aleph diminished? Why is it smaller than the other letters? Well, there was an explanation given to us in the Middle Ages by Rabbi Asher, a great Torah commentator. He's also known by an acronym of his name, Rosh. He suggested that Moses was a very, very humble man. This is attested to by a number of commentators, both modern and ancient commentators. And when God calls to him, when God speaks to Moses, he speaks to Moses in an awakened state. All of the other prophets were addressed by God through dreams and visions. It is only Moses who is spoken to in this direct manner, because Moses was the greatest of all of the prophets. But Moses was a very humble man. We read this in many places, a very humble man. And he did not want to set himself above the rest of the people. And what he did, and I want to show you something here in the Hebrew, according to Rabbeinu Tam. Let's take a look here. This is the way Yayikra is spelled in the Bible. Vav, Yud, Kuf, Resh, Aleph. And again, notice how small the Aleph is. Yayikra means called. But there is a word that sounds very similar. It sounds actually exactly the same, but it's spelled differently, and it also has a different meaning. Vav, Yud, Kuf, Resh, Hey. Yayikra means happened. Moses, again, being very humble, didn't want to set himself apart from the people. He did not want to be boastful about this special relationship that he had with God. And he said, just let it be said that it happened that God spoke to me, Moses, and I transmitted God's commandments, in this case, regarding the many sacrifices that were to be offered in the tabernacle. God agrees partially. God said, no, I'm going to spell it with this special spelling to indicate that I only speak to you, Moses, in such a direct manner, but to remind the world of how humble you are, I'm going to diminish the aleph. And in every Torah, every place in the world, that aleph is written with that in a diminished size. Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook, the first chief rabbi of Palestine before it was Israel, said in a commentary that that humility, anava, is absolutely indispensable for a spiritual life. What we have to do is to reduce our own egos. What we have to do is to make a space in our minds, in our hearts, for God to fill. That is, he says, without humility, one can never have a clear vision. And so it is with great leaders like Moses. You have to be humble in order to lead, even if you have extraordinary talents and gifts, as was the case with Moses. But I think that goes for all of us. If we want to live a spiritual life, if we want to see the world around us clearly from a spiritual point of view, we need to cultivate the quality of humility. Well, I hope that you will read this week's Torah portion and come to your own conclusion. Shabbat Shalom.